Were you watching live when the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show controversy happened? After Justin Timberlake tore off part of Janet Jackson's clothing to a live audience of over 100 million viewers, the FCC fined the television network CBS a record $550,000 for indecency, though it was eventually voided by a federal court. In 2004, the FCC received over 1.4 million complaints, almost 7 times as many as the previous year, and a significant increase over the 111 complaints it had received 4 years earlier. Less than 9 months after the Super Bowl, a little game called Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was released for the PlayStation 2. You might have heard of it. As part of its recreation of 1992 California and Nevada, San Andreas has 11 radio stations with over 150 songs, at least initially. But interestingly, all of its songs and chatter and commercials are uncensored, and many of them feature swearing or other indecent material that in real life may have been in violation of FCC guidelines and potentially subject to fines. But which radio station would be subject to the most fines? Which radio station in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is the most offensive? In 1972, American comedian George Carlin performed a comedy routine identifying 7 words you can never say on television. I'll let him tell you what they are from a later performance.
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits!
In 1973, the New York radio station WBAI broadcast an uncensored version of this routine, which led one man, a member of the advocacy group Morality and Media, to complain to the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, which regulates television and radio communications in the United States. No sanctions were ever imposed, but after some back and forth, the case eventually made its way to the Supreme Court, who in 1978 declared that the FCC could impose sanctions and issue fines for indecent language like that in Carlin's sketch. So while the FCC doesn't maintain any known list of prohibited words or phrases, Carlin's 7 dirty words are a pretty good indicator, and should be an effective way to measure the offensiveness of a particular station. The FCC initially avoided issuing sanctions after the Supreme Court case, but by 1992, when San Andreas is set, they were issuing them more frequently, including 2 to the Howard Stern show that year alone, totaling over $700,000. And while these sanctions don't typically apply to content broadcast after 10 PM, when it's not reasonably likely that the audience would contain children, technically the radio stations in San Andreas run and repeat all day irrespective of time. A song might play at 10 PM and then again at 10 AM, so it's assumed that everything broadcast on the radio is subject to FCC guidelines. That also includes the radio station commercials, many of which also have indecent language that would be subject to FCC sanctions. But since those appear to play randomly across each station, they can't really be assigned to any station in particular. So let's start with Playback FM.
Forthright MC hopes you relieved yourself cause you're gonna shit when I play this record.
Off to a great start. Playback FM is such a great radio station for classic East Coast hip-hop, including many songs that have influenced some of the biggest hip-hop artists of today. This song that Forthright MC so eloquently introduced is Road to the Riches by Kool G Rap and DJ Polo, the former of whom is often seen as a godfather of rap and a big inspiration for artists like Eminem and Jay-Z. Forthright MC himself was actually voiced by Chuck D, another well-known rapper and the frontman of Public Enemy, who was also admired by and an inspiration for artists like Eminem. Funnily enough, there's even a clip of Eminem greeting Chuck D backstage at the VMAs in 2024 while wearing a shirt with the album cover of Road to the Riches. You don't have to go far on Playback FM to find big names in the hip-hop game. The same could be said about the next song, Warm It Up Kane by Big Daddy Kane, seen as one of the most influential artists of the genre's golden age, and the song itself a contributor to our count.
Ultimate and all that good shit.
Another well-known rapper on this station, also well-known for collaborating with both Kool G and Big Daddy Kane, is Master Ace, whose song Me and the Biz might ordinarily count, but interestingly its 2 swear words are actually pre-censored.
I'm ready to talk enough shit like Al Sharpton.
The same goes for It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, an incredibly well-known and often played song, likely thanks in part to its self-censoring. So Playback FM gets away with these ones. Interestingly, most of the songs on this radio station released between 1987 and 1990, but there's one from a bit later, Gangstar's BYS, which officially released on their album Daily Operation on May 5th, 1992. Now, if the events of San Andreas are meant to correspond chronologically with real life, and there's nothing to actually indicate that they are, then the game ends around May 4th, the last day of the Los Angeles riots, which would mean that the song is actually playing on the radio before its official release. But then again, that's not unheard of, and it doesn't really matter anyway. It's a good song, with at least a dozen swear words if we're counting each echo and scratch.
I'm gonna bust your shit.
plus one more for good measure.
Your rap's worn out, burnt out, fucked up.
Another weirdly meta song is Rebel Without a Pause by Public Enemy, the group featuring Chuck D, who as mentioned before voices Playback FM's host, Forthright MC. So if Chuck D exists as a musician within the GTA universe, does that mean that GTA San Andreas exists as a video game within the GTA universe? While you think about that, let's add another to the count.
I know you're listening. I caught you pissing your pants.
There are plenty of songs that don't have swearing but are still worth mentioning, like Spoonie G's The Godfather, an appropriate title considering Spoonie G was one of the earliest rap artists in the 1970s, and known for his general avoidance of explicit language. There's also Children's Story by Slick Rick, one of the most sampled artists in hip-hop, Vapors by Biz Markie, the clown prince of hip-hop, Critical Beatdown from the highly acclaimed classic album of the same name by the Ultramagnetic MCs, the self-titled first single from Brand Nubian, which was successful enough to greenlight their first album, and Eric B. and Rakim's I Know You Got Soul, which heavily samples a song of the same name by Bobby Bird, but more on that later. Considering a few more swear words from the station's jingles,
Shit, I can't see the mirror.
You suckers ain't shit.
Playback FM has a total of at least 24, off to a good start. K-Rose might actually be my favourite radio station in San Andreas. I have such fond memories of driving through the countryside, Whetstone, Flint County, Red County, while listening to the beautiful country tunes of Hank Williams, Willie Nelson, and Patsy Cline. Titles like Hey Good Lookin', One Step Forward, and All My Exes Live in Texas have been ingrained in my memory for about 20 years, and some of these songs have actually made their way into my playlist. 3 Cigarettes in an Ashtray and Mama's Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys feature some genuinely beautiful vocals that stick with me. But notably, not a single song on K-Rose features any swearing. There are sonnets of lost love, ballads of unrequited love for Dolly Parton, romanticization of an oft-overlooked lifestyle, and tales of a one-armed alligator poacher in trouble from the law for illegally poaching alligators, but no swearing to be heard. On the music, that is. The station's host, Mary Beth Maybell, swears at least 5 times, and in very entertaining ways.
You know, raising kids is tough, but I just can't stop having them. Cause with each one, the eagle shits more money each month.
Though I think she has a little more to be concerned about considering how strongly she implies, live on air, that she killed many of her ex-husbands.
All my exes are 6 feet under the ground. I ain't never been divorced, just frequently widowed. Food at funerals is great, and I get shit-faced every time.
K-DST is a station that plays classic rock music, quite distinct from the real station called K-DST that plays country music in Iowa. The fictional K-DST plays a range of iconic songs. America's a Horse with No Name, Lynyrd Skynyrd's Freebird, Toto's Hold the Line, and Runnin' Down a Dream by Tom Petty, whose iconic vocals also graced the first trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6 in 2023. Unsurprisingly though, none of these songs feature any swearing. The same can't be said about the host, Tommy Smith, voiced by Axl Rose, the frontman of Guns N' Roses, whose song plays on a different radio station, which leads to more meta questions about how the GTA universe fits within the GTA universe, but that's for another time. Tommy adds the same 2 swear words to the count.
Look, shithead, try not to shit your pants.
But that's it for K-DST, the cleanest station so far, though perhaps not as clean as the FCC would like. Next up is Bounce FM, the funk station hosted by the Funktopus, played by famous funk musician George Clinton. In perhaps the strangest meta moment, Bounce FM plays one of George Clinton's real songs, Loopzilla, which the Funktopus specifically comments on.
Mr. GC George Clinton, y'all. Funkin' with his hands behind his back. What goes up must come down. Bullshit.
This certainly isn't the only time the Funktopus curses either. He's partial to a good rant and gets going on a few of them.
Don't believe that shit. This is the Funktopus bringing you shit to get your funk together by. Proper preparation prevent piss poor performance.
One saving grace of the station's cursing is its use of the word funk to self-censor.
Funk off.
Except for one instance in which the Funktopus gets so flustered by his own rant that he seemingly forgets to do so.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying around here, y'all.
Other than 8 words spoken by the Funktopus though, that's it for Bounce FM. None of its 17 songs, like Johnny Harris's Odyssey, which plays in the game's Lowrider mission, the Gap Band's You Dropped a Bomb on Me, which was named in Clear Channel's memorandum of lyrically questionable songs to play after the September 11th attacks, and the Ohio Players' Love Roller Coaster, which sparked an urban legend that a scream heard in the background was of a woman being killed while the song was being recorded, feature any cursing at all. So it seems the Bounce FM producers only have the Funktopus to blame. SFUR, San Fierro Underground Radio, is a station that plays house music, including many songs that charted quite highly on the UK singles chart, like a guy called Gerald's Voodoo Ray, generally considered the first acid house song produced in the UK, Your Love by Jamie Principle and Frankie Knuckles, the latter often considered the godfather of house, and Move Your Body by Marshall Jefferson, who at the time went by Virgo, but when the record label published the song under his real name and it was subsequently quite successful, he had no choice but to drop his nickname. This being house music, there generally aren't many lyrics in these songs, in some cases none at all, which means there isn't any swearing either. But like with the previous stations, that doesn't mean the station lacks any curse words at all. Its host, German DJ Hans Oberlander, curses at least once.
This is underground shit!
Interestingly, the word underground as it applies to radio station often refers to pirate radio, stations that are broadcast without the required licenses from the FCC, which can lead to a whole other host of sanctions and penalties. But considering this station is listed along all others, and features plenty of commercial advertising, I think the term is instead implying that the music itself is underground, meaning outside the mainstream. Anyone familiar with the radio stations in San Andreas has probably been waiting for this one. Radio Los Santos is a West Coast hip-hop station playing contemporary music. All the songs are from 1988 onwards, and almost half are from 1992. So like peak swearing. One interesting fact is actually how many songs on this station don't have any swearing. Like Too Short's The Ghetto, which was actually produced by DJ Pooh, who co-wrote San Andreas. The Doc's It's Funky Enough, whose opening line was sampled in perhaps Sporting's most popular song.
Y'all ready for this?
And NWA's Express Yourself, known for being one of their only songs devoid of swearing, which was once played on repeat by Australian station Triple J for 24 hours straight, around 360 times in a row, in protest to industrial action. Speaking of NWA, more than half of the songs featured on Radio Los Santos are from the group or its members. 2 from the group itself, 3 from Dr. Dre, all featuring Snoop Dogg, 3 by Ice Cube, and 1 from Eazy-E. Unsurprisingly, most of these songs feature a lot of swearing. Like, a lot of swearing. 6 of these songs alone more than double the count of every station so far combined. Ice Cube gets in 15 curse words across 2 of his songs, NWA has 26 and Always Into Something alone, and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's 3 songs have a total of 57 overall.
You fucked with me, now it's a must that I fuck with you.
Outside of NWA, though not really as Ice Cube appears in the music video, there's also Cypress Hill's debut single How I Could Just Kill a Man with 5. And Hood Took Me Under by Compton's Most Wanted with 11, performed notably by MC8, San Andreas' writer himself.
Straight off the motherfucking block,
But the individual song that takes the cake on all stations in the game is by Tupac, though this shouldn't really be a surprise considering its title.
I don't give a fuck.
Its 37 curse words are so notable that even Julio G, the host of Radio Los Santos, and a DJ in real life, sounds like he's sweating.
I might get fined for playing that record right there.
That being said, if he's so worried about being fined, perhaps he should watch his own language, rather than swearing 11 times himself, more than any other radio host in the game.
There's a lot of morons out here really fucking shit up, man.
Radio X, formerly Radio Twitter, and not to be confused with the British station of the same name, is a modern and alternative rock station hosted by Sage, who also professes to be alternative and rebellious, as is made clear through some of her hosting duties.
And yes, that is my real name, and if you don't believe me, you can go fuck yourself.
Besides a few other choice words from Sage though, the station is fairly clean, filled with several beloved songs, including many that have appeared in other games, like Midlife Crisis by Faith No More, which was in Tony Hawk's Underground 2, Danzig's Mother in True Crime New York City, and Soundgarden's Rusty Cage, which was in Road Rash and Burnout Paradise, among others. Of course, there is one song in Radio X that features swearing, and not an insignificant amount, Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine with 17 words alone. The song's lyrics are said to have been inspired by the Los Angeles riots, which would make it slightly anachronistic with the game's time period, but it also makes it incredibly thematically appropriate, so a logical inclusion. Interestingly, the song was once played on repeat by Canadian station Kiss FM for more than 18 hours straight, in what appeared to be in protest to industrial action, but was more likely a publicity stunt for the station's format change. It was also the UK Christmas #1 in 2009 as a result of an online campaign. And in the lead up to this, Rage Against the Machine performed the song on BBC Radio 5 Live, where the producers asked them not to swear. They did.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me!
I guess the band called Rage Against the Machine didn't do what they were told when asked to change the lyric about not doing what they're told. K-JAH West is the game's reggae and dub station, the West Coast equivalent to K-JAH Radio that is heard in GTA 3 and Liberty City Stories. It's hosted by Marshall Peters and Johnny Lawton, voiced by the famous reggae and dub artists Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare, a well-known music duo dating back to the 1970s, who dropped the station's only 4 swear words.
There's ganja in your head, man. It's shit.
There are many great songs that play on the station, including many that have been sampled by other mainstream artists, like Blood Sisters' Ring My Bell, a cover of Anita Ward's song which was sampled in the song of the same name by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Barrington Levy's Here I Come, sampled in The Coming by the Black Eyed Peas, and Max Romeo and the Upsetters' Chase the Devil, sampled in Jay-Z's Lucifer, produced by Kanye West. A lot of well-known beloved songs, but besides the hosts, no swearing. The same can be said about Master Sound's 98.3, the rare groove, funk and soul station, whose host, Johnny the Love Giant Parkinson, swears a grand total of once.
This is a little dude with an attitude, and I don't give a shit.
The songs themselves don't actually have any swearing, but they're certainly iconic, like Express Yourself by Charles Wright and the Watts 103rd Street Rhythm Band, which was sampled an NWA song of the same name. I Know You Got Soul by Bobby Bird, sampled an Eric B. and Rakim's song of the same name, and Jungle Fever by the Chaka-Chas, which was used in the very first trailer for San Andreas. One thing that I find really impressive about this station is how many songs are written or co-written by the same man, James Brown. 9 or half on this station alone, plus others elsewhere, making up at least a dozen across the whole game. He may have been known as the godfather of soul, but he had a crucial impact on many more genres than that, and his credits prove it. One such song that credits Brown is played on the last music station, CSR 103.9. My Lovin' by En Vogue samples Brown's The Payback, which also plays on Master Sounds. CSR, Contemporary Soul Radio, plays New Jack Swing and modern soul tunes, like the appropriately titled New Jack Swing by Rex in Effect, which samples James Brown's Funky President and Soul Power, both of which are also on Master Sounds. On top of these iconic songs, CSR also holds an important distinction, at least based on my research. The only station in San Andreas not to feature a single curse word, neither from its songs nor its host. Finally, a radio station the FCC can be proud of. I'm afraid the same can't be said about WCTR, West Coast Talk Radio, which features 8 different programs, 7 of which have at least one language violation. Many only have one each, like Gardening with Maurice.
You're a lovely human being, you fucking imbecile.
One of the most concerning is Entertaining America, which, in addition to cursing,
you know, the friends told us Louisiana so we would have a place to show our tits,
has a shooting occur live on air, which they make no attempt to cut away from.
Take it easy, it's not even loaded. Oh, Dex!
Obviously, this is a completely fictional event, but there have been real-life examples of television and radio capturing similar moments. The FCC doesn't typically step in, considering it a consequence of live broadcasting and news media, but the fact that WCTR doesn't cut away for another 30 seconds is not a good look, and almost certainly would have prompted complaints in real life. Such events are the reason many stations have a broadcast delay, allowing them to edit out offensive material live in the seconds before broadcast. Easily the worst culprit for swearing on WCTR is the news program, which has swearing on 7 of its 11 episodes, and while some of these can be attributed to the nature of live news broadcasting,
Lifetime champ, no shit. Can I say shit?
several of them come directly from the news reporter himself.
Who do you have to fuck to get a free drink in this place?
Richard!
When it comes to live broadcasts like this, particularly live news, the FCC does often overlook fleeting expletives, accepting that it's just a consequence of live broadcasting. One notable example is when U2 frontman Bono accepted an award at the Golden Globes in 2003.
That's really, really fucking brilliant. And,
The FCC initially gave it a pass, but later declared that it was indecent, putting the broadcasters on notice, but notably not issuing any fines. The same likely would have occurred with WCTR News, at least in the first instance when it was a live interview, though I doubt the FCC would have been so forgiving after the next 6 times, especially since half of these are from the station's own news reporter.
I am shit-faced.
So as far as raw numbers go, WCTR's 33 swear words put it in second place, a distant second place. In fact, Radio Los Santos has so much swearing that you could add up every word from every other station and still be more than 60 words too short. If we're judging indecency based on the sheer amount of curse words, then Radio Los Santos takes the cake by far. That being said, the FCC wouldn't typically issue fines per word, it would be per episode, segment, or song. When the FCC fined the Howard Stern show for indecent material, it generally combined multiple broadcasts under a single offence, sometimes increasing the amount fined based on the number and severity of offences. So assuming that indecent language is fined per song or segment, not per word, then the most offensive radio station in San Andreas is actually WCTR, with 16 offences to Radio Los Santos' 10. In fact, following these criteria, they're basically the only two in contention. Playback FM follows with 4 offences, Radio X with 2, and then every other station with 1, besides CSR's completely clean record. One thing that is made clear from this exercise is just how much swearing is present on the public airwaves in San Andreas. It should be noted that subscription services like satellite radio are not subject to the FCC's indecency guidelines, which is why Howard Stern's show moved to Sirius satellite radio in 2006. But such services didn't exist in 1992 when San Andreas takes place, so this wasn't possible then anyway. So what does this mean? Should GTA 6 censor its public radio stations to more accurately reflect real life? Well, no, it's a video game. I'd rather just listen to good music and entertaining talkback stations, swearing and all. But sometimes it's fun to look at trivial statistics like this and consider what consequences there might be if these games actually existed in reality. Meaningless though it may be, it's fun to consider silly ideas like which of San Andreas' radio stations is statistically the most offensive. I'll tell you one thing though, it's certainly not User Track Player. For some reason all that station seems to play is Tom Hanks singing Hot Chocolate from the Polar Express again and again.